Hello, my friends. Long time no see. Okay, so today I'm 1 year sober. And I even went today to a meeting to get the chip to prove it. It's a big day. And I always said that I would do a video to celebrate 1 year of sobriety and maybe to discuss if there's anything I learned. I was expecting today to be very emotional, as I would have had the right for it to have been. I've worked very hard to reach this moment. But I haven't felt anything today. I didn't feel anything at the meeting. I'm not entirely sure why that is. But I guess maybe it's just because the past few months I have felt a lot of confidence that I would make it to this point. You know, the daily struggle has faded a lot. There's so much accumulating evidence that it has been good for me to quit alcohol that it seems less and less of a struggle and more, just something that's obvious to do and something that's been good for me to do. So maybe that's why today I'm not feeling particularly proud of myself. I'm just feeling happy to be here because I have tried many, many times before to reach this point and failed. The longest I lasted prior to this attempt was 120 something days, which in itself is a great achievement, but I think it's fair to say that 1 year is especially cool. So anyway, I'm going to be as concise as possible about the three main things I want to articulate as someone who is in recovery to people who either want to learn more or people who feel that perhaps they should enter recovery themselves. And maybe they're quite random, but these are the three things that I feel truly confident on in terms of my recovery, and so I want to pass on to yourself. The first is that a gripe I have about when we talk about alcoholism or addiction in general is we really look at it through the lens of trauma. So, oh God, what's gone wrong in this person's life for them to feel this way? Why are they addicted to this? What mental illness is at the root of it, etc., etc. Now, to be clear, of course, that's a part of the puzzle. And for some people, it's the complete part of the puzzle. But I do think it encourages some people, and I was one of them, who really don't have a tragic backstory, to feel ashamed if they are suffering from addiction, or to feel like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe I've got a bit of a problem, but I'm not like them. I don't want to appropriate what they're going through. The truth is, certain substances are created to be addictive. Alcohol is one of them. Social media is one of them. Hard drugs are one of them. So many things. Gambling is another one. These things are specifically engineered to be addictive to the human brain. And so if you fall trapped to that, all you've done is be a human. You really don't have to overanalyze, what it was about your relationship with your parents that led to this, what it is that's a personal defect with you. Because I do believe that sometimes we can get over-analytical about that aspect of our lives, but also it just leads us to forget that actually, at the end of the day, these things are addictive. And they're going to be more addictive to some people than others. If you're one of those people that is an addict due to an addictive substance, you don't need any other reason to be an addict than that. You don't need to feel bad because you didn't grow up in care. You don't need to feel bad because you've never been in an abusive relationship. You don't need to feel like you're a weak person. I think that's really important for me to articulate as someone who comes from a nice family, lower middle class opportunities, good friends, able-bodied, etc. Please don't compare yourself to the homeless or to the people who have had extraordinarily difficult lives and go, well, they deserve to be alcoholics, as in they've maybe earned that right. I know that sounds like weird phrasing, but you'll understand what I mean if you're someone going through this yourself. But I have no right to even think that I'm like that. All you're doing is hindering your ability to get better. And also, life doesn't work like that. There's more than 7 billion people on the planet, and one of those individuals, one poor fucker, has it the worst. Only one person has it the worst. But that doesn't mean that 7 billion people don't get to have little moments where they reflect on their life, they know it could be better, and they want it to be better, so they make that happen. I also think in the same vein, because we have a tendency to overanalyze addiction through the lens of some trauma has pushed you to this, we forget the other part of the puzzle, which is not just that, oh, I'm doing this to escape life, which is as I'm doing this to get away from a trauma. Maybe you're running towards adventure. And I do believe that was a huge part of for me. You know, when I drink, I find myself in situations I never would before. I'm talking to people I never would before. Crazy things happen, and at 3 a.m. I've got the craziest stories to tell. And when I'm sober, you know, the equivalent night is probably watching YouTube till 10 and then going to bed. You certainly can be someone who feel that you're missing out on life. And maybe the adrenaline of alcohol or drugs suddenly makes you feel a part of something. And trauma doesn't explain that. It's not about trying to avoid life. Sometimes it's about trying your absolute hardest to be part of life. If you've got a lust for life, and if you believe that that's a part of what's pushed you towards addiction, the great solution is that there's a million ways you can live life to the fullest. I've been able to do that through travel this year. There's extreme sports you can get involved in. I mean, when you're in a really happy, beautiful, romantic relationship, that elevates existence to a new level. Please don't just view your recovery through the lens of, here's the bad things in my life I need to sort out. Think of it as well as, here's the good things in my life that might be missing, the amazing pursuits of adventure that maybe I can start, you know, through hill walking, skydiving, just being more sociable, who knows. Okay, so that's one of 3. We're doing well, right? Number 2. Please understand that you are a flawed human and that you always will be, and that that's okay. I think we have got quite obsessive as a culture about being the best version you can be to quite a ridiculous extent. You know, all these wake up at 4 a.m. in the mornings, ultra marathons, start a multi-million-pound business routines that we see on our social media feed. I think you have to pursue personal development in a healthy way. One of the most obvious healthy ways you can approach it, if you are an addict, is to stop being someone who is reliant on that addiction and to pursue sobriety. That's a beautiful thing. But I have noticed there have been times throughout this year I've taken it too far. You know, it's like, okay, this is step 1. Now now I need to make all this money. Okay, I look a certain way. You know, how am I going to invest all this money to make my appearance better? Blah, 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 blah. No, you know, if I die in 50 years as a teacher and with a family and with a few friends, I've lived the most beautiful life. And I should be incredibly grateful for that. And I will be if my sobriety actually goes the correct way. Don't let the start of sobriety be the start of an exhaustive treadmill. You know, don't get addicted to self-improvement in place of your addiction to alcoholism or whatever it was. It's a very human thing to do, and perhaps we have a certain nature that means, you know, we want an addiction, right? But that's not the goal. It's not to start hating yourself in other ways. It's to reach a place of self-acceptance and to reach a stage where every day is enjoyable. You know, you're not going to love every day, but that you actually are in the moment of every day. And what I would also say is a big part of sobriety, when it's done well, is that you're then in a headspace where you can help others around you. So maybe that is through your program, or if you're doing it all on your own, it might just be that because you're a more present father, you're a better father, or at work you're more receptive to other people's needs and you're a better colleague, etc. you can only be helpful to other people if you are flawed yourself. For real, I'm serious. I mean, think about a time in life when you've maybe gone through a bad breakup, or I don't know, you're fucking your life up and you need someone to talk to. You never want to talk to the perfect person about that. You'd be embarrassed to. You wouldn't feel that they'd have much time for you. You wouldn't feel that they understand you. You want to talk to someone where you feel like, I think they've been through this and they've got through the other side. That's the beautiful thing about sobriety. We can be the people on the other side, but we can only be that person for other people if we're still flawed ourselves, if we still live with the fact that, yeah, life is tough. I'm not entirely sure why, but I do the best of it. Okay, yeah, I lost my temper there. I have no excuse to. All I can do now is apologize and be a better version of myself tomorrow. We have to accept our flaws, because that is part of us helping others. And I do believe that a lot. And I'm beginning to feel that as a teacher as well. You know, my job isn't to be the perfect person for my students. I mean, of course, there are minimal standards. But my job as a teacher is to really relate to their imperfections and to let them know that's okay. And through that, they will grow into better people. And through that, I get to be really proud of them, but also I get to be really proud of myself, because I was a small cog in that machine that helped that happen. Yeah. And my final thing I would say to you, if you're someone struggling with basically anything, I mean, you know, of course, for me, I'm talking to you about alcoholism, but it could be about any drug or gambling or sex addiction. The world is a more supportive place than ever. And I've really found that through talking about my struggles online, almost all the comments are supportive. People really now more than ever understand that life is hard. They're more willing to relate and remember, oh yeah, my uncle did go through that actually. Oh, my auntie did. I did. You know, we're far more forgiving than ever. We're far more wanting to live in a world that acknowledges mental health and acknowledges human struggle. And I think that part of that is because we're a bit more separated than ever. And so when people show moments of raw vulnerability, others really are attracted to that. So if you're someone who's struggling, but you're deeply embarrassed by it, and you feel very isolated by that, something I would say is, you would be amazed at how many people will immediately help you, or at least show support the second you articulate you're struggling. But more than that, will be grateful that you did. Because people want to live in a world where they feel they can all help each other, and they feel that they're not the only ones going through tough times. So I do understand the embarrassment of addiction, and I do understand the isolation that comes with that. Of course I understand it. I understand it a lot. But just give the world a chance to help you and you will be amazed, I do promise. And if your immediate surroundings are not supportive, we live in an online world now. There are plenty of options for you to find support, okay? And I really hope you do, my friend, because you deserve it. You deserve to... I'm not going to say you deserve a wonderful life, but you deserve the conditions to give yourself and to build a wonderful life for yourself. You deserve the chance, right? That's it. That's all I've got to say today. And with the exception of thank you. I've now kind of had I've always had an online presence, but I've had a slightly larger online presence since January. And being alone in Hong Kong, but always having some back and forth through a screen with my audience, that's really meant a lot to me. And I know I haven't capitalised on it fully, or, you know, stuck to a regular schedule. I guess part of that is me not being a perfect person, right? But I just want to say that this isn't a relationship that goes one way. I don't just talk to my camera and then I leave it at that. It means so much to me that when you guys talk back to me, it's given me a lot of confidence. It's given me a lot of reassurance about my life, and long may that continue. And to any of you who are struggling, I know it's a strange thing to say to a stranger, but I just want you to know I really care about you. Okay? Lots of love.